Time to start putting the bobber back together. A friend of mine TIG welded the O2 bungs on there for me. I did it on both sides. I will start with the wideband on the right side, and then after I get all that tuning done, I'll move it over to the left side to double check. Okay, so I have the left side pipe on the bike and everything's just finger tight. I like to leave them loose till I get everything in place. Got new exhaust rings, so I'll put those on both sides. I don't want any exhaust leaks now, especially since I'm tuning. I do have some of the copper anti-seize on the exhaust studs, and I already put blue Loctite for the screw that goes down here to fasten the rear exhaust. We should get this on here. I already slid the crossover on, and it's all just loose like everything else. So this way, just wiggle everything into place. All right, this screw, just want to run it in, but I'm going to leave it loose. Move the exhaust around. That's in there. The 2 shell pass. Started. Run them all in by the fingers. All right, left side's torqued down. Now to do the right side. These are at 19 Newton meters, and I like to run them down evenly. So I'm watching the torque on this as I go. Get about the same amount each time so it's even. Okay, just tighten the bolt down here. This is what, a 5 mil. I've got blue Loctite on it, and I just tighten it down to Guten tight. Just tighten these down. Just nice and snug. Don't have to really crank on them. So I get a little 1/4 inch ratchet. Doesn't put too much tension on them. So that's that. Okay, now to put the wideband sensor on. I have put a small dab of the copper anti-seize on the threads. Just a small dab. So run the wire up through here. Run the sensor in. Now if you notice, the wideband sensor is not going across horizontally. I made sure that you want to be at least 10 degrees up from horizontal. That way, as your exhaust cools off, water doesn't build up on the tip and ruin your sensor. O2 sensors on there. Let's get the wiring plugged in and figure out the routing. So figuring out which one of the wiring looms goes to the O2 sensor is quite simple. The O2 sensor's got that big plug. Now, this will be the smaller one. Both plugs have different, both the cables have different size plugs, and this is the smaller one, so that should just plug right in here. There we go. Nice and easy. Okay, I use 1,000,000 zip ties to hold everything in place. I followed the clutch routing, zip tied it to the clutch cable. Follow that, because you know when the clutch moves around, you know it doesn't bind, so that's a good place to follow. So I just followed that routing. More zip ties to the clutch cable. Follow it down along the frame with 1,000,000 zip ties. And down here, everything is coiled up in a loose circle and zip tied to the bracket, top and bottom. So it's out of the way, nothing close, no wiring close to the exhaust pipes. So we're good to go on that one. Now we need the power cable. The second cable is your power cable. Just got the bigger one of the plugs. And the other end is just, you got a few wires there. The only ones I'll be using is the red and the black for power and ground. Red's power, black's ground. Then I'll have a 5 amp fuse in there that they say to use. All the other ones is for some data logging stuff that they sell separately, so we're not going to use those. So just like the O2 sensor line, I ran the power line right along the clutch cable, came down, zip tied, million zip ties. Then underneath the tank, I routed her along the tank vent line. It's coming along inside the frame here in between the pods. Just trying to follow all the lines that are already there. And then a zip tie to my crankcase breather, and the line's right out over here. So here's the cable for my my battery tender. So I've got extra battery tender leads. I'm going to cut one up and wire it up for a power line with a 5-amp fuse. This way I'm not permanently wired to the bike. I didn't want to splice any of the bike wires. So to turn it on, all I've got to do is plug it into the battery tender and then fire up the bike. So that'll power up the gauges and send heat to the O2 sensor, because the wideband is quite a bit of ways from the exhaust port. Like the narrow band's right here, and that's heated up right from the exhaust as it comes out of the head. The wideband's heated up by the electrical connectors. You don't want to have it, at least this AEM one that I'm using, you don't want to have it up here because it'll overheat it. It says at least 18 inches away. So we're good there. Okay guys, I'm wired up. Got it hooked up to that other battery tender line that I cut up. So here goes nothing. Let's plug it in and see if it turns on. I got those polarities right. Double checked, triple checked, quadruple checked. All right, it's heating, so that's good. Heating the O2 sensor, so